Thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachiko, and first off, here are the top stories. Saudi Arabia prevents Sheikh Gumi from performing 2025 Hajj. Suspected suicide bomber killed in Abuja explosion. Local government boss cries out over fresh attack on Benue communities, 20 persons killed. House of Representatives withdraws compulsory voting bill. FCTA seal off PDP headquarters in Abuja. In a very recent development as well, PDP calls out meeting behind closed doors of FCTA party seal secretariat. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu leaves Abuja to mark ECOWAS 50th anniversary. In a very recent development, however, pressure mounts on Tinubu to drop Shetima as running mate ahead of 2027. In a very recent video which shows Sheikh Tinubu, the president's son, helping his father while he struggles to work. And on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, Trump says Putin absolutely crazy concerning consistent attacks on Ukraine. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The World News at 6 begins with this development where the Saudi Arabian authorities have prevented the Kaduna-based Islamic cleric Sheikh Gumi from performing the 2025 Hajj exercise. In a post on a recent Facebook page today, the cleric confirmed that he had returned to the country, adding that the Saudi authorities were uncomfortable with his presence in the Holy Land despite having issued them a visa. He further disclosed that the Nigerian authorities had pledged to immediately take up the issues with the Saudi authorities while calling for prayers for the safe return of all the pilgrims and the peace and prosperity of Nigeria. For the post, he wrote, Alhamdulillahi, I have already completed my Hajj 2025. I am at home in our beloved country, Nigeria. He went ahead to quote some aspects of the Quran, stating that, however, the offering available to them. For some obvious reasons, my views about world politics, the Saudi authorities are uncomfortable about my presence in the Hajj after giving me the Hajj visa, thanks to the Nigerian authorities who have pledged to take up the matter immediately with the Saudi authorities. It is the value of a cherished freedom and democracy. In an unfortunate turn of event, an explosion is expected to have been caused by a bomb killed one person today in Abuja. Another person was reportedly injured in the explosion, having been triggered by an improvised explosive device. While eyewitnesses, based on a military personnel who did not disclose his name, said a man believed to be a suicide bomber was killed by an explosive contained in a rubber can close to Mogadishu Barrack in Abuja. However, military authorities present at the scene said the situation could be an explosion from a phone device and not an IED. At the same time of this report, personnel of the military, DSS, police and officers of the National Emergency Management Agency are still taking inventory of the situation. While in Benue, more than 20 people, including a 2-year-old child, have been killed in a series of fresh attacks in Awandana and other communities in West local government area of Benue State. The chairman of the council, Tosa Victor, confirmed the incident in an emotional video, decrying the persistent violence and inaction of the federal government. Tosa revealed that the attacks occurred in multiple villages, including Tewa Biana, which lies in close proximity in a military base. Despite this, he said there was no response from security forces during the carnages from Nigerians. The withdrawal was announced on Monday in a statement by the Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas. The Speaker, in a statement by his Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Musa Abdullahi Krishi, explained that the withdrawal is to allow wider consultations with stakeholders and encourage dialogue in line with democratic principles. Abbas pointed out that countries like Australia, Belgium, Brazil have successfully implemented compulsory voting, but a different approach may be more suitable for Nigeria. The bill was co-sponsored by the member representing Basa Jos North Federal Constituency of Plateau State, Daniel Asama Ago. Now, a crucial meeting of the People's Democratic Party is currently underway at the Bauchi State Government Lodge in Abuja. The meeting, initially scheduled for 7 p.m., was rescheduled after the Federal Capital Territory Administration sealed the party's national secretariat in Wadata Plaza over unpaid ground and tenancy rents. Well, as earlier reported, FCTA took decisive action today, sealing the PDP's national secretariat building, effectively preventing members of the party's board of trustees from holding their planned meeting. The FCTA officials were said to have arrived at the site and instructed the security guard to confer with the Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, based on a northern Islamic group, has advised the president to consider choosing a northerner of Christian extraction as his running mate in the members of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, including its president, Archbishop Lucius Ugoji, Bishop in Owerri. In his remarks, Tinubu urged Nigerians, particularly spiritual leaders, to embrace the country's religious and cultural diversity as a unifying force. However, a clip from the sidelines of the ceremony has since gone viral, capturing the moment the president relied on his son for support. The video is believed to have been recorded by an attendee. President Tinubu, known to be 73 years old, recently received wide support from party members who encouraged him to run for a second term in 2027. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment where we'll take a cursory look into some of the stories read out on the World News at 6. Do kindly stay with us. All right, actually have Barrister Fred Nzako right here via the telephone. He's going to be our analyst this evening to help look into some of the issues read out on the World News at 6. Barrister Fred Nzako, good evening. How are you?
Very well. Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining me today. Barrister Fred Nzako, there is a video that is circulating across social media. When the president traveled to Rome, you know, a lot of issues had developed from there. Issues of supposed, will I say, statements that were untrue, that certain persons who went there to see him went there for personal reasons. Others said that some persons were bounced and all whatnot. Well, this video that actually came out is a video showing the president being held by his son while he supposedly was struggling to work. Now, this video emerged based on an attendee in that particular venue in Rome during the inauguration of Pope Leo XIV. Now, Nigerians are now calling out the president, saying that if he seems not to be physically fit to run, why would he want to recontest in 2027? There are other videos as well that have emerged of him, possibly his hand shaking while he wanted to drink water, possibly him being uncomfortable, shaking like, you know, someone who possibly cannot stand without somebody holding him down. But a couple of Nigerians believe that without anybody thinking he's old enough, it's possible for him to be in that state. They compared him to Joe Biden, who ruled America for 4 years effectively. How would you react to this, sir?
Well, these days it is very difficult to stand by any image unless you are there or unless it is confirmed by a very credible source. Because of the manipulation of and use of AI in manipulating images is a very, very terrible problem, and that is one of the major downside of artificial intelligence, especially in an environment where people are not given to being honest and being truthful. The advanced countries that develop the artificial intelligence are doing so, making use of such technological innovation for their growth and development. But underdeveloped countries like Nigeria, where people are more interested in even dirty politics, more interested in not telling the truth, more interested in propaganda, you find it difficult to believe anything.
Well, Barrister, the video actually looked real. The video actually looked real because we saw the chief of defense staff as well and a couple of other attendees from other countries while they were working. It was just like the president was passing by, the son was holding him. There was a white man, and then behind him was the chief of defense staff and a couple of his entourage. But the question is this, like I would ask, does that affect the president's mental acuity and mental capability of running the country, of organizing, of administering properly? He's old, all right? He's an old man. It's a very obvious.
It's at least till 2027. It is the duty of Mr. President himself to introspectively ask himself whether he is strong enough to continue after 2027. Towards the build-up of 2023 election, all the things that happened, Nigerians later, many Nigerians now later concluded that Mr. President was using that as a gimmick to scurry and achieve political points, whereby he created some impressions that he will not be strong enough, so that the North will vote for him and hope that some of them hope that he may not last long, and then all will now rest on their own brother. Many people even voiced it out that they thought that what happened to Yaradua and Jonathan would have been the lot of Tinubu and Shetima, without knowing that many analysts said that Mr. Tinubu was using that as a political gimmick. But now you will not say whether this is a gimmick or whether this is an AI doctored propaganda or whether this is true. But what is important to Nigerians is that we must keep unnecessary political propaganda out of the need for good governance. What Nigeria needs more than ever before is good governance.
To wipe out persons in that community, for them to be replaced by certain individuals. Maybe there is a situation where they want for them to be replaced by certain individuals. Maybe there is a situation where they want to cause hunger, poverty, or is it possible that they just want to take over? What is the agenda of these daily killings in Benue State and the governor is quiet? Why is the state of emergency not declared?
Remember that under President Muhammadu Buhari, the killings in Benue and Plateau were so much that the president gave a marching order to the Inspector General of Police and Chief of Army Staff, in fact, Chief of Defense Staff, to relocate to that axis so that they will take control of the situation and ensure that the killing is stopped. Since then till today, the killings have not stopped. And those who are experts in security have said that these are intentional killings by marauding herdsmen. And when government was challenged with the fact that they are not saving the life of the people, the government came out then to say that the herdsmen were from outside Nigeria, from across the Sahel, that they are only looking for grazing fields and grazing roads. Now, would the government sit idly by and allow non-Nigerians to come into Nigeria to keep killing Nigerians? That is the critical question. And if we say that, that Buhari is a Fulani man and he had emotional sentiments towards his Fulani, is President Tinubu also a Fulani man? And what is the current government doing about safeguarding the lives of the people? And what is the duty of the people themselves in safeguarding their own lives? The Director of Security Services has sometimes said that the very best thing is to encourage the people to defend themselves. How do we do that? And that is why some people have said we need to have a security summit so that we can have a second hard look at our engagement with security issues. If the people in authority have refused to restructure this country so that there could be security of lives and property and development, are we going to continue to remain like this?
Barrister, let me ask you a very succinct question, please. Barrister, is River State, Barrister, is River, Bayelsa, Delta, are they states that are more considered as prominent to other states? The president declared a state of emergency after a pipe was supposedly busted or something. They exploded a pipeline in Rivers State. That evening, a meeting was held with the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, Chief of Air Force. We also had the security advisor, the National Security Advisor. We had the DSS boss. He converged a meeting with them, and that night at 7 o'clock there was a live broadcast where the president declared a 6-month state of emergency in Rivers.
To cry, he has cried enough. Unfortunately, he is not receiving the succor. The people are not receiving the succor from the government out of the cries of not only the governor, but out of the cries of the entire citizenry. The people in Plateau are crying. There's no succor. The governor of Benue State every day is crying that they should not allow Mate to fall. There are so many local governments in Benue State that are falling into the hands of terrorists. Zamfara is the same problem. Niger is the same problem. Many other persons, Katsina is the same problem. Now, if you want to solve Nigeria's problem, we must look at the foundation. The foundation of the problem so that we don't continue to cure the symptoms. What the government seems to be doing does not seem to get to the root of our problems.
Position as chairman and let it continue the way it is. He was visibly distraught. He said the psychological toll of the violence was becoming unbearable. This is the local government chairman. He says, I don't care about being chairman anymore. Look at a child of 2 years old, butchered. It's so much for me to condone. So these persons don't have any heart. The other day, Barrister Fred Nzako, these elements of darkness, these demonic elements, killed a woman gave birth in their enclave, right? She gave birth to twins. Barrister, they took these babies and threw it at their dogs. These are the demonic, satanic agents, principalities that we're currently dealing with in this country. And what everyone is looking at is towards 2027. Will there be a country by then if these things are not tackled headlong? How many times will the president have a meeting with the chief of Air Force, all of this? Now, the DSS boss had told us that they cannot be everywhere at the same time. So what if people decide to arm themselves to protect themselves? What, we're going to see a barrage of persons being arrested because they decide to protect themselves? If you recall the Uromi killings. After the Uromi backlash, everywhere has been quiet. The persons at the political scene, National Assembly members, all the northern elites that called out the killing of Uromi, the Uromi 10 persons, they're all mute. They're all quiet. We're not seeing that national outreach on these killings going on in these communities on a daily basis, Barrister Fred Nzako, on a daily basis.
Esther, it is very unfortunate that we have left the basic things and we are chasing shadows. Where lies the talks about establishment of state policing structure? Is anybody still talking about it? Well, the director of SSF said that they cannot be anywhere at all times. The head of the military said they cannot be everywhere at all times. It is the duty of the people to help to secure themselves. How do they secure themselves? When you carry arms, there will be a terrorist, a confirmed terrorist, and then all of a sudden he said he has repented, and you bring him and integrate him into the society, creating more problems. These are all cosmetic approaches that are embedded in lack of political will, a lack of respect for life, and in lack of the simple solution towards the security situation that we have in the country. Of course, if we continue like this, we can never solve the problem. We can never. The kidnappers are all over the place. The terrorists are all over the place. Some of them are given new nickname and called bandits by the same federal government. So I can tell you that until we sit down as a nation, as a people, look ourselves hard in the... It's not supposed to be a government activity. That is one. Two, Sheikh is a private person. He's not a government official. So if he has an issue with Saudi authorities, I do not expect that Nigerian government will come out and say they are taking it up. After all, Saudi authority did not lock him up. Neither did they do other things apart from asking him not to enter their country. Of course, every country, every sovereign nation has the authority and to issue you a visa and to even cancel the visa. They have the authority to deny you entry into their country. Even when you fly and come land at their airport, they also have the opportunity to send you back. So if